Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Haiden Henderson, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm hanging out here in the studio with Haiden Henderson.
Hello.
What's up, dude? It's good to meet you. It's like I just recently got introduced to your music, and like the moment that I heard the new single, I was kind of blown away. You have some insane vocals, insane falsetto.
Thank you so much. I feel like from my talking voice, you don't really.
Yeah, I would not expect that.
It doesn't make sense. That's what people on the internet tell me. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I would not expect that. But you know, there's so many congratulations to be given to you. Like I feel like these last couple months have been pretty big for you.
Whirlwind.
With the new single, the EP that dropped earlier this year, just signed to Lava and Republic Records. So it's like so much is going on for you while you're trying to focus on your music and have these like big opportunities happen. How do you kind of keep it all together and centered?
Oh, I think I'm far off center right now, but learning to get comfortable with that reality, I think. But the last few months have been exhausting in a good way. Specifically, I think the live shows have been the most interesting change because this is my first time meeting my own fans.
Nice.
You know, doing my first headline shows.
Yeah, everything was on socials for you before, right?
Yeah, everything was either on socials or I was opening for somebody else. So I was like constantly, which I thrive when I'm having to convince people that what I do is fun or interesting.
Right.
Like I feel like me moving around a lot as a kid made me the first impressions kind of person. But meeting my fans for the first time at like the New York show and the LA show, it was so surreal, and it made everything once again like, oh, this is why I do it. Because after a while, it's just like there's nothing tangible about this, and teenage girls like crying and snotting on themselves and like that kind of like that is what makes it all worth it. So that's been the highlight for sure, and I hold on to that, and that keeps me going.
Yeah. And you just also opened up for MA in LA, which was her biggest headline show as well. So
it was crazy.
What was that show like for you?
It took us like 48 hours to really unpack it because that's my best friend that I live literally down the street from. So we share gym plan, we share PO box, we share everything together, and our socials are so tightly integrated because we're always in each other's content. And a lot of people came to the show for me and knew her through me or vice versa. And it felt like this really unique, it's rare for the opener to be known by the fans to the point where like everyone is screaming every word. And then during her set, everyone's screaming every word. And then I came out during her set and we did like
hell of a good time.
It was a hell of a good time for sure. We were honestly like borderline dissociative because it was such a surreal out of body experience for both of us. And I'm flying out to New York tomorrow to do another sold out theater show with her as well. And I'll be there until next week, and New York's my favorite city ever, so I'm excited to do it there.
That's awesome, and I love that, you know, the music is already happening as well. You just dropped what essentially is your debut single with the label. Hell of a good time, and I really love this track. It's different from your previous EP.
Totally.
It's an intense track because I don't know how you're able to keep yourself collected the entire time. You're on a high, you know, vocal tone the entire time. And like,
I wanted to come in with that, like something. I wanted something to be like, well, when I added my last name to my artist name, just as like my way of telling people I found what I am good at doing. Like I've been so new to this.
You've landed.
I've landed, and I'm ready to start competing essentially. And I wanted something that was striking from the get go. And some of my favorite bands are like Muse, and I wanted that. Oh, baby,
and that's where I was gonna go.
I came in. I was like,
this is very like, I love that it gives me these like vibes of Muse.
It's got the Muse thing, and I love how you naturally just did that too. By the way, like mid conversation. That's so funny. But I came in loving. I'm a Twilight fan too, shamelessly, and love movies in general. And I wanted something that was striking from the get go. And I had gone to a rock concert the night before, so I wanted something just pounding, like that sets the tone for the rest of the night, kind of thing. And it was the first thing that we played in the studio was that guitar riff, and then very naturally it was asking for like the those drums. Immediately when you hear that, for me, a shuffle beat gets me going. I've never had it before. And so I was actually the first time that I felt like I was actively dancing or having fun in the studio. It set the tone for a lot of the new stuff. It's fun.
The melody is very catchy. Like,
Thanks.
Like it just gets stuck in your head.
Oh, that's good. I hope.
Yeah. I want to get there with the lyrics, but I'm scared to even try and sing those lyrics.
Yeah, they're provocative. One of the co-writers that I wrote this with is very beautifully and deeply religious, and the opening line of the song is "She's the devil, she's sharpening her nails," and I came out with these just like hard lyrics, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know about all this," and I had to sort of convince her that it was going to be okay.
Yeah,
it was just metaphors, people.
So instead of the producers and the songwriters like putting you in that like uncomfortable spot, you did that to them.
I feel like I'm often pushing people around me to go outside of their comfort limits, and then by turn we just have that like relationship and they can do it back to me. But I usually come into writing with people as like, let's leave ego at the door, leave everything at the door, and like let's just try something that we haven't done before, essentially. Because it'll naturally be me if it's me singing it, and with my very strict and taste on things, it's usually going to end up sounding like me in some way. So it was different.
How did Lauren and Midi like allow you to try something different, especially vocally, and being able to learn how to control? Like I've seen all your previous stuff, and I know you have these falsettos on lock, but like doing it throughout on a song, I don't think I've ever heard that from you.
Yeah.
So
I've been really insecure about that.
Really?
I've felt like I don't consider myself much of a singer because I started during very late, and all of my friends and peers have been singing since they were 6 and writing songs since they were 7, and went to Grammy camp and have been these savants. And so I'm surrounded by a lot of people that will always humble me, and I'm like always a student of what other people are so naturally gifted at. And so I started as a guitarist, and everything starts with the guitar for me. And then I started singing because I felt like no one else was going to sing the songs that I was writing. It was all out of necessity. And Lauren and Midi, the collaborators that I did the song with, and the rest of this project that's going to be coming out, they always give me the confidence to just like experiment and try things. Weirdly enough, the falsetto was the thing that felt the most it felt totally me. But the ending punchline, that she's a hell of a guy, when I'm belting that was like me trying. They were like, just do like a Mick Jagger thing, like just throw it out there, you know. And I'm afraid of often doing that, and they've made me a lot more comfortable with it. So they're borderline therapists with their reassurance. A lot of the time I'm like, I don't know if it sounds good, but I want to be able to pull it off.
You know? Would you say that was probably the hardest bit on the track, like on the recording process? Yeah,
we did it in like that screamy kind of punchline. We did that in I think 2 takes, and it was the first take that we ended up using, and the mic actually clipped when we did it because it was just recording a little bit too hot. And you can hear it if you listen closely, but there was like the second take just didn't have the same
umph.
Something about, I really threw it to the wind, and even with the recording technically having been blown out, it kind of just added to it. So we used that, but it was more of a mental hurdle than anything.
Yeah. Going back to the melody, I love how this whole track as a whole is very it's like theatrical. And it gives me it gives me an experience when I'm listening to it.
Oh, cool.
So diving into that creative process of coming in and being like, hey, like this is the sound, this is the style that I kind of want with this music. Like how did that really start for you?
I feel like I've naturally, because I've played guitar, and when you want energy on that, you add distortion. There's always been an element of like rock influence to what I've done. My first EP has always had distortion and guitars and live sounding drums. And then my second EP, like You Don't Even Like Me, the intro to that is just like kind of this old fashioned Linkin Park style intro, you know, with the big drums. And there's always been elements of that. And I think I came into this wanting to find a new way to fuse those two, because to me it's always been glassy pop vocals and top line, like melody and stuff, something that's naturally super, super melodic, and then the track underneath it to get the energy or the angst or whatever you want out of it is just like darker and pounding. And from the get-go, Midi was doing that shuffle pattern with the drums, and that by default already had a rock feel to it. And so we were able to just do whatever we wanted with the top line. The melody, it could be as much of a Britney Spears melody, which is kind of what it feels like to me sometimes, as we wanted to, and it was naturally going to feel that way. So the sonics of it felt like a new intersection between rock and pop that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And that was exciting. And then like the theatrics of the song or the lyrics or the storytelling or whatever is sort of just the only way that I know how to write songs. I'm not like the most creative, spewing creativity type person. Everything that I write has to come from a very specific experience. And I genuinely just limit it, or I feel it's just because I'm limited by my imagination. And so for better or for worse, everything is absolutely accurate. And the girl that I had a crush on that I was writing about this had long acrylic nails that were sharpened, and had one of the earlier lines was, before we changed it, was wrapped in leather, her lips are full of filler, she'll kiss you then she'll kill you, beware, because she had intense lip filler. And she like had the saying, instead we changed it, lips are full of sugar. And everything was very, very pinpoint accurate, just because I was describing the person I was talking about.
Man,
yeah,
that must be scary too, though, when you're writing a song that's very descriptive to like either the scenario or the person that you're talking about.
Right.
Is this something that for you just naturally happens? Like you're comfortable doing that, or is that something that you kind of have to step back and kind of review it every so often before you can finalize and say like, all right, I'm going to release this?
It's a little bit of both. That's a good question. I have always been like a sociopath with my lyrics, and I've always, up until pretty recently, I've written everything just alone in my bedroom on a guitar, and it's always been a very long and tedious process, making sure that the lyrics were as satisfying to sing or to hear back as the melody was. I always wanted them to feel like they were made for each other. And this song in particular was one that's like almost annoying to think back on, because it just happened. It's like the first thing that we wrote was the chorus. And we had the melody, which is borderline like a Nana Boo Boo, like lullaby type thing. And a lot of my songs
in a cryptic
sound like
way,
that.
though. That like
it's
like this eerie kind of way. Like
and same with like Sorry to Your Next is da 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 da, and Pretty Little Attic da 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 da. They have these very kind of childish almost melodies that I find myself gravitating towards. And one of the first things I think we said was, I said initially, if you want a savior, I could be the one to save you. And then we changed it, or I changed it to, if she wants a savior, I could be the one to save her, just because the rhyme was a little cleaner. And immediately I wanted to represent myself as what I usually am as a person, which is a bit more of a simp. Like if I am in love with if I like a person, I'm in love with the person, and I fall very hard and fast typically. And I wanted to have a song where I was praising a woman in a way, because a lot of what I'm known for is like Pretty Little Addict or Sorry to Your Next Ex, where I'm like pointing the finger, like I'm the shit, I'm the ball. And I never feel like that, but I write those songs to try to inspire some kind of confidence in myself.
There's an alter ego in there.
There's an alter ego in there for sure. And I wanted something where I was praising a person, so it felt easier to be honest about the lyrics in that way. Because it wasn't as negative. Songs like Pretty Little Addict are harder to be on it. Like every single detail in that song is 100% true. But it felt harder, and I was like biting my nails the whole time, being like, I don't know if I could say this about a person, because they're likely going to know it's about them.
It's interesting how we're mentioning like this song is very theatrical, has this kind of eerie kind of tone. Some of the lyrics are a lot darker, but at the same time, it gives me this kind of like love type of story that you're giving.
It's a love song, and for sure.
So it's like, it's cool that we have all these different like dark like feelings from it, but at the same time, at the end of the day, this is a love song.
Totally.
Is that something that just naturally happens in the studio when you're creating it, like to be able to put all these different tones and undertones of what we hear, but then still cohesively be a love song? Like, I don't know if I explained that.
No, I know what you mean. I think of darkness in songwriting or distortion in the production of a song as like costume design for movies. Whenever somebody is wearing a costume in a movie, if it is perfectly clean and pressed, it doesn't look real. It looks like a costume. But as soon as you start rubbing some dirt on it, put some holes in it, tear it up a little bit, it suddenly feels tangible to the eye. It's like, oh, that's a real person. It's not a costume anymore. It's like actually the character. And I think of distortion and darkness in songwriting the same way. There's very rarely in your life ever times, or at least for me, where I'm feeling pure love and pure happiness. There's always conflicting emotions and stuff. So adding a little bit of darkness makes it feel more tangible to me. And the easier way to say that is just like, it's less cheesy. You know, cheesy doesn't feel real. That's sync music. It's like, it's dated. It's not as interesting to listen to. And so the darkness is what adds the interest or the intrigue to me when I'm listening as a fan of other people's music. So I feel like it's naturally been integrated into my stuff just for that reason. It just feels more real to me.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you're working with Midi and Lauren for other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Is this the new direction that we can expect with your music? Like this sound of Hell of a Good Time, or are you still kind of expanding a little bit more in your sound and your style of music?
I'm trying to build my box right now because as Haiden, just when my artist name was my first name, I was running away from sounds more because I was trying to just figure out what felt the most authentic to me.
Yeah.
It was like the 10th song I ever wrote went viral. And so I really got sucked into this world and wanted to figure out what I did well in it compared to, once again, like all my peers that have been doing this since they were kids.
Yeah.
And when we made Hell of a Good Time, I didn't know if it was going to be like the first single, but I hoped that it would be because it was the most striking. And there are still elements of that darkness and the pounding drums and stuff from like Pretty Little Addict or the heavier tracks on my last EP or my last 2 EPs in general, but it felt like elevated. And I think you can expect the same elevation from the future stuff. It's going to be this sort of nostalgic. I coined the phrase one man boy band just because I think it's like self-deprecatingly describes what I do. And it's those, I talk about those moans and stuff like that is just like fun. And I'm very clearly just like goofing around in in the booth, especially on the future stuff. It'll maintain some of that. Okay. And it'll be vibrant and elevated. And I think you'll hear me singing my ass off on every single track, and it'll all be in that same world for sure.
We're gonna have some dance moves as well, right?
I don't know. This is the distinction I have to make. I'm not the bye Backstreet Boys in sync kind of thing. I'm the I don't even know who would be. I called Five Salsa Boy Band, which I got some flack for on the internet, but I'm like,
it's like give or take,
I'm like, it's a band full of boys.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I mean, maybe I would call Arctic Monkey a boy band too.
Yeah,
I'm sure Alex Turner would like that.
Yeah, U2 was a boy band.
Yeah, I'm sure Bono would definitely like that. So it's maybe we'll bust out a dance move. I don't know, but as long as I have a guitar on me, I'll be okay.
Well, Haiden, it's good to get to meet you. Congratulations with the success so far this year. 2024 just started, and it started really big for you.
Thank you so much.
So I'm excited to see what the rest of the year, unfolds for you. You guys be sure to check out Haiden Henderson. New single, Hell of a Good Time, is out now. And thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.
Thank you.